Hey, David. You look worried. You're not hearing me?
Hello, Vince.
Hello? You hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Headphones. Yeah. Okay. How are you today?
Yeah, good. So where are you now?
Now I'm in Bali,
In Bali?
Indonesia.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
near a few. I'm getting nearer to
Yeah.
Australia. It's we are starting to getting tired of traveling so much. It's very hard with a full-time job and traveling, and it's a little bit too much. So we are trying to see if we can solution to go back to Europe or to stay in the same place for 6 months or for a year.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So what's your job?
I'm I'm a drafter for engineering companies,
For a what company?
for engineers for buildings.
Engineering. Yeah, yeah.
I do buildings. The skill
You
that
do
they
all
that
that
they need.
online.
Yes, I work online. And I have started to build up a website and trying to see if I can change work on long time, but we'll see. We'll see.
Mm.
I'm still somehow a lot of teachers that have followed in my life that have deeply helped me. They never did this for money, and they never had a lot of followers, And I always impressed me because they were just so deep, and they were like, why is nobody, I don't get it, you know. But now and I think also uh, the difference between therapy and non-duality or awakening. It's, it's not,
Not
it's
much.
very the same, but it's kind of different at the same time.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, of course, there's a lot of different kinds of therapy, and I guess the traditional kind of therapy is very much the opposite of what we're doing, where they're trying to stabilize a sense of self and give people purpose and meaning in life.
Well, this is this is where the difference lies, because now with this new, there's a lot of new therapy that come with this neurochirurgy discovery and this approach of the body and the nervous system and feeling your body, feeling your emotion. And there's a lot of value in 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 that, a lot. But as you say, at the same time, it's embedded with finding solutions to your suffering, like be with friends, be in a group, stay bound. Uh, uh, so yeah, it's it's interesting. Let's say
Mm.
it's very interesting. It's very interesting because I wouldn't say that therapy is not good. Of course, depends on therapy, depend on a lot of things. But even if you take a very good therapist, which there is a lot, there are a lot of people who are really orient you toward your emotions or what you feel to be authentic. It's beautiful. But like you say, but there is a part that is not seen somehow. So I think it's a
Of
bit
course.
tricky. What do you mean?
So, yeah, of course, we draw conclusions, don't we? I see a lot of people who have spent years, many, like 10 years in therapy, and they don't get anywhere. They don't feel like there's any improvement in their life, Um, but of course, I can't draw conclusions from that. I don't know what kind of therapy they've been in, um, or what the therapist is like, what their orientation is. So it's a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but it's also tricky to because a lot of hello Jen,
Hello.
because a lot of non-dual teacher kind of draw attention speaking speaking in a therapy, speaking about emotions and how to end suffering, but it's the same publicity as therapy.
Mm,
If you kind of take the same, it's kind of
yeah.
very similar outset. But when you go inside, it's a very different, have a different taste from my perspective.
Mm, yeah.
And of course, nothing is black and white, so everything is kind of in a gray.
Yeah.
Gray.
So one thing that most therapists might have in common is that they see their job as to end suffering. And I don't see that as my job, but I suffering will stop or will change, suffering will end, but not because that's what we were aimed for, but rather because we remove whatever the suffering was born from. It's a different thing. I don't see this stuff as spiritual either. That's that's just a convenient word that gets used, but there's nothing particularly spiritual about it. It's almost biological, isn't it?
I think to me, the very big difference, my experience with non-duality and all of the therapy training I've done and everything, it's in non-duality, there is there can be this approach of what you live as an individual doesn't matter. Like you can really kind of, you can buy, you can bypass entirely all of these human problems and to go straight to who you are. The, the, there is this option kind of in the field. that you don't have to be happy as a human to know who you are, you know. But it's very subtle because it's not about bypassing your emotion either. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah.
When I did a lot of I did birth imprints and all of this birth prenatal psychology and exploring this imprint, and it's a beautiful work, but like you say, often at some point there is this orientation to encourage you to build a new self, the self that you like, is to build a new system of belief that is better than the old one. So in that way, the cycle of therapy kind of never ends because, and yeah, this is,
yeah.
but there is great tools in it. There is this beautiful healing and everything. So I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. No, they all have their place, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
Did you say you were trained in therapy, David?
Yes.
Different modalities, yeah.
I mean, to me, in this awakening process, there is two big steps, and they are the most difficult one. The first, it's seeing the illusion of the separate self, seeing that the concept is not reality, and whatever you know through concept, it's an interpretation. It has nothing to do with reality, and this is kind of a huge leap already. And after that, or in between, or in the middle, who knows? There is all of this repressed emotion and trauma, and all of the body carry inside it, all of this that is embedded inside the body, inside the nervous system, which both neither the body and the nervous system can be found, but it's a map to say that there is something we experience that is very difficult, it's very uncomfortable, and there is resistance and fear, and all of this package. This is kind of another layer, but when this is where therapy is very good, because when this energy kind of feel more harmonious, it's easier to go deeper. But those two steps are the most difficult one.
A lot of different ways of coming at it. I spent 5 years as a hypnotherapist, and that was very much a case of contacting the subconscious mind. And still, even when I look back on it, it was still very much a case of looking at the cause of things rather than looking at the symptoms. But then after that, years later, after that, I did a lot of encounter groups. I ran encounter groups for a while. And that was a case of setting the conditions so that people could express stuff that they wouldn't normally get in touch with because of the safeties. But they would express it in a very physical way as well in the encounter group. So there's a lot of body movement, a lot of loud vocalization and so on doing that. So in a way, looking back at it, it's the same thing. They were still allowing stuff that had been suppressed to emerge. But when I look back at it now, there was a huge thing missing, and that was that there was nowhere. It wasn't directed anywhere after that release. They were kind of just left to process it in their own way, which wasn't. It still worked for a lot of people. There was a lot of good results as a result of it, but I would now see it as needing some direction after it was let out, so to speak. Anyway, enough of that. So how have you been, Jen?
Really good. Thank you. Yes, life has been offering me a few lessons in the last couple of days. So yeah, I've had a real obvious showing to me of what Jenny was talking about the other day, of jumping, you know, backwards or forwards in time in my head. I think there might have been something about relating that to time that helped me to, yeah, really think about the present moment more. And the interesting thing that came up for me in that was that I didn't feel like there was any emotion that I was trying to avoid. I feel that I'm relatively good at feeling my emotions and knowing, you know, perhaps not always, but it certainly didn't feel like there was something I was trying to avoid feeling wise. But I wonder if there was even, I wonder even if it was some kind of potential boredom with the present moment, which at that particular time was this incredibly gorgeous autumn day drive from the mountains. You know, it was beautiful. It was just so beautiful. I was like, why on earth would I want to distract myself from this? Yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm at the moment, is just having a much better noticing of presence in a much more real way than I ever had for some reason, you know. Don't know why these.
So did I hear you right? Did I get it? When were you acknowledging that you saw boredom as an escape, as a distraction?
No, although I often think that I use kind of fatigue and tiredness as a distraction or dissociation. But yeah, when I was kind of looking at this present moment and wondering why I would be distracting myself from it.
Okay, yeah.
I wondered if perhaps that there was some kind of boredom.
So you're probably never going to get an answer to the question, why am I doing this, right? Because the question itself is also a distraction. That's inviting you to get back into your mind, isn't it? To analyze it and so on. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So the trick with that one is to not even, why may well reveal itself, but it's not going to reveal itself because you chase it. Right? So again, simply sinking into what's actually going on at that moment is where the juice is for you. Yeah.
Yes.
And we do it automatically, don't we? I mean, we don't. It's such a seductive thing to analyze. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it with the attitude of fixing anything as much as, I mean, that might be in the background, but we're doing it to discover reality, what is actually going on, what has been triggered here, what's actually happening is what we're looking to discover. Yeah. And we'll get to the point where that will be, most of the time that won't be an issue at all, you know. But when something presents itself as being a bit juicy, That's the opportunity, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
And boredom is one of those things, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds overall, it sounds like you're in a good place. You're in discovery mode. That's a big one. Yeah. Mm. How are you, Eloise? You've got a stern look on your face.
Oh, have I? No, I've just had a really fabulous short driving holiday right out west, 7 hours out west, and reconnected with some people I hadn't seen for a long, long time. So, and went to the Gilgandra Ag Show. So, yeah, it was I allowed things to flow, and it was an adventure, and
Yep.
I noticed things. I noticed when I was catching up with these old friends that I hadn't seen for like 20 years. I was telling a story, and I noticed that I embellished the story, and I knew I was embellishing it at the time, but I wanted it to be funnier, the story to be funnier. And one of the people said, in a kind of like, no, you've got to be kidding, like trying to kind of call me out on the embellishment. And then blow me down if I just didn't dig in with the embellishment.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, and you saw it happening, didn't you?
I saw it happening. I just thought, oh my God.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then I had a bit of a shame attack, like, Jesus, like, did you have to do that? I did it. So, it's just like, there you go. But I realized, I kind of reflected later, and I thought, you were having such a good time, but you just wanted to squeeze a bit more love out of it for yourself, just a bit more. Yeah.
You know the old Ram Dass saying about, if you think you're enlightened, go visit your family, go and stay with your parents. Well, old friends can be a little bit like that, They 20 years ago, you were such a different person, and so what was going on with this refreshing of that? They kind of see you in the way they used to see you, and you see them in the way that you used to. It's a real trick, that kind of stuff. So, did you see what was behind the embellishment? What were you trying to achieve with that, as far as your relationship with them was concerned?
I mean, I just wanted them to love me more.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it was a real ego thing, like, if this is really, really funny, they will love me more.
Mm.
But in fact, I came away kind of with this.
Yeah. Slightly dirty feeling.
Yeah. Like, really? Did you have to do that? But I did it. So.
And so you did have to do it. There's no question there. It happened, and so therefore you did have to.
Yeah.
So if we invert that from I wanted them to love me more, then the sentence would come out something like, I felt they weren't going to love me enough, or I something along those lines. Can you what comes to mind as a sentence for you that would describe what was happening there?
It's funny, isn't it, Vince? Because I really felt, genuinely thought we were just having such a nice catch up. So I was really surprised why I actually kind of had to do that. I just didn't kind of get, because I was feeling, I thought there was some level of just flowing and security and everything, just this sense of everything's really fine.
Mhm.
So I don't really know. It's kind of, must have been pretty subconscious.
Yeah.
Try to squeeze the last bit or bit more please like me out of them,
Mhm.
So, but interestingly, kind of the shame, I would have been racked by shame previously. So I realized that the amount of shame that I felt was just a minuscule of what previously would have happened.
Yeah.
It would have been a tsunami of shame previously, but now it's just like, it's more like disappointment.
Mm.
But that's still an ego-driven kind of
Yeah. So you saw that as as a selfing kind of process.
selfing mechanism.
Yeah.
But the good Buddhist remembers that there was a term in Buddhism called it was called like moral shame, that was called hiriotapa, and that's kind of what I felt, which was just like the acknowledgement that had been kind of said,
Mm.
and that it wasn't something I necessarily wanted to repeat if I had any say in that. But
Mm.
it goes back to control, doesn't it, Vince?
Yes, of course, yeah. And I don't know. See, it's just what comes to mind, and I might be really wrong here, but I would see that the Buddhist thing is very much about how the world sees you. I don't mean in a superficial way, but rather what I'm saying is that it's about your behavior, your actions, and how that can be seen in terms of morality and so on. Whereas we're looking at this from the inside out rather than the outside in, if you know what I mean. So from the inside out. So when you feel the shame now, you recognize that it's just something that happened. It just arose, right? It's not like there's a need to slap you for doing something wrong per se. It's just what happened. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, which is it's still quite new not to have that kind of level of shame that goes with that, like
Yes.
a shame attack.
Yeah. Well, of course, the shame is traditionally used as a controlling thing, isn't it?
Mm. Shame and punishment. Yeah, judgment, shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something, Eloise?
Sure.
I'm wondering if is the shame to do with the intention behind your embellishment? I guess my question is there a scenario in which making that embellishment would have been fine, like no problem at all, to make other people laugh? And my question is kind of coming also from a I'm not sure if I understand why that might have been a problem, because when you were telling the story about it, you really made me laugh and it was lovely. And then I sort of came to thinking, was it because your intention was to get more love, in which case I can understand the potential for some shame, possibly. But I guess I'm asking, is there a scenario in which embellishing that story is okay?
Yeah, interesting question, Jen. If I was a comedian on the stage, I kind of reflected on that, and I just thought, you know, embellishing would be my part of my life, because, you know, I'm a comedian on the stage, and I did actually reflect on that. That would be fine to do the embellishing, but I think, as you say, it was more that I was manipulating them. I thought I was manipulating them to get more love, and it really backfired on me. I don't know, it felt like it backfired on me, you know, because I felt the shame rather than more love.
Right.
But look, in the scheme of things, I just thought, you know, yeah, it's just what happened, and it flowed, and we had a lovely catch up, and yeah, there you go. You know, that's all.
So did you say anything to them afterwards about that?
No, I thought about that, Vince, and I just thought, oh, don't dig a deeper hole, you know,
Yeah.
just leave it, you know, like we all embellish all the time, you know, so just leave it be.
Yeah. So you, just to point out to you, and it was, I guess you probably do see it anyway, and that is that you didn't resort to saying that you were doing it for their benefit. You know, you weren't wanting to make them happier and to laugh for the sake of their state of mind or well-being or whatever. You were doing it for your own purpose, and you could see that. Yeah, so that's a pretty big thing, because by nature we tend to blame other people for things that go wrong, and so you weren't doing that, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that came to mind, and it's kind of irrelevant in a way, but it just came up, that because you could see that you were doing it with that purpose in mind, that would fit into Feta 3 stuff. So rites and rituals, doing it for a purpose, which is interesting because we don't get a lot of chance to look at that one. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, there are the obvious things like going to church and say you don't go to hell, that kind of thing. But this is a lot, we're in way more subtle areas than that now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when Penilla mentioned that one to me, that it jumped out as being way more significant than what I'd previously thought, and that is anything you do with a purpose in mind, it fits into that one.
Ah, okay. Okay, interesting. Interesting.
Mm.
Because, you know, I mean, there are really subtle degrees
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
around that, because, you know, when I went to the show, I mean, I dressed in a manner that had really a subtle intention that I would not stick out as a city slicker, you know, because they're all from the country pretty much, you know, way out west, and I didn't want to stick out too much. So, you know, I didn't want to wear my checked shirt and my Cobra hat and my boots.
Yeah. Over the top. Yeah.
You know, be a complete phony.
It's interesting that you consider Barrel to be city slicking.
Well, it's certainly more than Gilgandra, right?
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. I always saw Barrels up in the country. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it's pretty slick for a country town.
Yeah. Things have changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I think it's an interesting litmus test for me to just see how much flow I feel when I'm not in my familiar environment. I'm really out of my comfort zone when I go traveling, and I don't know where I'm really going to stay, and I don't know what the people are really going to be like, and all these expectations, and then just to go more with the flow than has ever been experienced, because there's not as much sense of control. That is a diminishing factor. And I noticed that in a kind of macro sense, that adds to the sense of enjoyment here.
Mm. Yeah, so part of what you say there is that there isn't a level of distrust that might have been there previously. So when you say we're going with the flow and we're not so concerned about where we might end up at the end of the day, there's not that paranoia that could be there, where people have to plan to the nth degree and be so certain of what's going to happen. So that level of relaxation is really valuable stuff. That's what opens up the perspective to see things in a wider way.
Yeah. So that's not lost on me, because I think certainly COVID tended to, for me, for this conditioning, it really kind of reinforced the need for routine to help feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel there's a real, release around that.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, COVID had us wondering if we're walking through a cloud of germs every time we went to the shopping centre.
Yeah.
There was a huge mistrust about our environment at that time.
Yeah, and the rigidity that went on here, like just really keeping things, kind of routine, safe, predictable, blah blah blah. I just felt, wow, there's just a real sense of freedom in the flow. And I think that's a COVID blessing in a way, because
some good stuff.
I just feel like that's quite a juxtaposition that I can see has really, really changed.
Yeah, excellent.
And the other part of the experience, which I found interesting, was that prior to going up there had been some exchange between me and these old friends, and I felt this old friend was very guarded that I might be going up there and going to judge her pretty harshly in some way.
Were they Buddhist friends?
No.
Prior to that time, or just after that?
No.
Yeah.
So, but I felt like she was very kind of guarded and, pretty aloof and distant. And I just thought, wow, that'll be interesting if that plays out when we actually get together. But, that all melted when we actually did connect in physical, existence. It just melted away, and it was warm and welcoming to me. And, I think because she sensed that I didn't have a lot of guardedness going on.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. So what kind of contact did you have to her when you read her as being a bit somewhat guarded? Was that a written, or was that on the phone, or?
Written. It was written, but it was just very, it was pretty standoffish kind of.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how it was going to play out. Of course, I didn't. I just thought, oh, I'm picking up something there, but it all, as I said, just melted away.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? And some people will see us, they have their own stories about where we're coming from, kind of thing, and it's
That's right, Vince, and their own insecurities, because she then shared, several times her insecurity, about her weight, about her being judged as a country bumpkin. She shared these insecurities.
Well, that was a big thing. She must have felt pretty safe with you to do that.
Yeah, I think so, because, I just thought, oh, that's interesting.
Mm. And when she shared those, presumably there was no judgment on your part. So it's
yeah, I mean, I just sniggered to myself, ha, ha, ha. No, I didn't. I was just, yeah, no, I just, there was nothing going on. I mean, yeah, I didn't want to judge her. I was just there to reconnect.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Vince, excuse me, when you change the time, is it not going to be really, really early for some people who were previously?
It turns out it's 6 a.m. for those in London, so that's probably not so good. But there were people here before where it was like 11 p.m. for them at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 o'clock. Yeah. So that was mine, but they're not here today. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get it right for everyone, of course, I know.
Yeah, and I'm malleable. I'm quite prepared to kind of shift things around and see what happens if it's to make it more convenient for anybody. But this happens, of course, So I think it was Eric. No, it wasn't Eric. Who was it? It doesn't matter. Somebody. It was about 11 p.m. for them.
Right.
It started, and so the idea was to make it a little bit better for them, But then it makes it worse for others. But here we are, just the locals, If we include New Zealand as local, we're just locals,
Yeah.
And David's in Bali, so that's kind of local.
Ah, David's in Bali. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
But I don't mind. I'll do one if there's only one person turns up. I'm quite happy to do that. Sometimes that's better. You get more focus on it. If that's the case, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should apologise for not having a good memory about things, but I don't try to remember things. So a lot of things escape me, and people will say, "Oh, do you remember what we were talking about last time?" And I go, "No, I've got no idea. I don't remember." But anyway, that was stimulated by me wanting to ask you about. Have you been through LU, Liberation Unleashed? Have you done that routine yet?
No.
No.
And I wouldn't be drawn to it at all.
No, okay, sure. All right, that's fine. I don't see any problems there. What it does is it shapes my questions a little bit, and that is that what we're talking about with waking up, LU has a particular way of looking at that, and so on. And in a way, it's totally irrelevant. We don't need to. We're not going to get a certificate to say we're awake. So what we're about is having a better life, I guess. Just yeah.
Well, and I feel like I've seen through the first feta, so the rest of it is, well, it's all been worked through. It's all been worked through, and one of the aspects which I really liked with Panilla was that it is circular and you just keep coming back.
Yeah.
You know, working on things rather than working through, you know, in a linear fashion, which, you know,
Doesn't make any sense here either.
yeah, it doesn't, and it triggers the old, you know, striving to get to tick that box and get rid of, you know, and on to the next one. But, you know, and I really feel that that's why this actually works for this conditioning, is that because it is circular and I don't feel like I have graduated from, you know, a particular theta onto another theta. It's more like, okay, let's just see what we've got to work with now.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, there's no, I mean, I think it's quite funny when people say, oh, well, I've broken a particular theta. I just think, you know, yeah, just wait, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've heard it all, honestly, Vince.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying, I love your attitude, and I love what's real for you, and that is that ability to simply to notice what happens, you know, in a somewhat objective way. You don't get sucked into the stories, or if you do, you see it fairly quickly. That's all good stuff. I have no doubt you've seen through the first theta, and of course, you know, I discover myself selfing from time to time. You know, it still happens. Yeah, so
yeah,
I can't see that there's any graduation at all, really.
Yeah, and how liberating that to me is really liberating, because it's not me better than you, or I have to somehow try and catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, it's hard to get across to everybody how different, how unique everybody is, you know, especially because one of the things that pops up with expectations is people comparing themselves to other, they're not comparing themselves to other people, they're comparing themselves to what they think other people are.
That's right.
And of course, that's distorted probably. You know?
Yeah, and I spent my entire 20+ years in Buddhism comparing myself to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's all hierarchical too, you know, it's all hierarchical, like, you know, senior nun, then, you know, one down from senior nun and one down from her, and then, you know, you're in a pecking order, and
right.
you've got to work your way up. So, you know, there was a lot of comparison and yeah, striving, enormous amount of striving.
It's amazing how just so wrong it can go from what the original intention might have been.
Oh, seriously, yeah. And, you know, and the irony being that when I saw behind the curtain what was going on, there was a tsunami of depression in those monasteries. Repression and depression.
Yeah.
And a lot of shadow stuff happening too, you know.
Yeah.
You know, naughty boy, naughty girl stuff happening. So it was a real, like, wow, man, this ain't it.
Yeah, it feels heavy stuff, heavy.
Yeah, and I think I've shared, Vince, that, you know, my good Buddhist friends think I've gone really flaky.
That's fine. That's encouraging, really. I love flaky. I love weird. It's very valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I don't care if they think I'm flaky. It used to kind of grate, but not anymore.
Yeah, and an interesting one that's a potential to find something to work with is how you feel about them now. You know, looking back at them, and do you feel, if you feel, I mean, grossly you might say superior, or less gross you might just say better off than them, or whatever, you know. So all of those are good things to look at. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And I do sense that some people can actually wake up in that sort
Oh
of
yeah.
environment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I do believe it's also very rare because a lot of conditioning for a lot of people, you know, there's just too much trauma that then gets triggered in that environment
Mm. Mm.
for them to possibly wake up. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
that's my story, but you know.
Yeah, sure. And the cultural thing is interesting too. I mean, during my seeking days, a bit towards the end, I guess, I did a lot of Vipassana meditation. So I'd go away do 10-day silent retreats, and then after doing a few of those, I was able to go and do 20-day silent retreats and so on. And there was one bloke who lived not far from me, and he was absolutely obsessed with doing it. He did every single retreat there was, and for years and years and years, he spent more time doing retreats than he did at home. And at one point I said to him, "Where's all the enlightened people?" And he just looked at me really weirdly, and I said, don't you expect to get enlightened from doing all of this? And he said, "Oh, maybe next lifetime." Oh, that just deflated me. It totally deflated me when he said that. I thought that's crazy stuff. Yeah. So what they were doing it, a lot of them, the culture was that you did it to earn brownie points that you would take with you to the next lifetime. Next lifetime, fuck. I couldn't get over that. Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah. So a lot of that goes on. So I've actually only come across one person in all of the people that I've worked with who actually woke up as a result of, well, I say as a result of, but that they meditated a lot. Otherwise, haven't seen anybody waking up from meditation.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a few people in the monastery, but it was very, very few. Very, very, very few. Mostly, no, just repression and depression.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, well, even the Vipassana stuff, it's Theravada Buddhism, I guess, but a lot of rules and regulations, a lot of restrictions and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the Buddhism that I was involved with, the Theravada, which is, you know, kind of, well, certainly it was very punitive in my experience. And, you know, especially when you get to be a monastic, it's all about not getting what you want.
Yes, and that's good for you.
That's good for you. Yeah, that's going to wake you up.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you, Jen? Where are you up to with this seeing through the illusion of self, etc.?
Well, yeah, I like that idea of the feta stuff being circular as well. I think I've my life has brought me to this in many different ways, and so kind of some things have happened earlier. So in terms of actually feta one, I'm not sure that I can say that I have broken it or seen through it or let it fall or whatever.
I'm going to ask you to tell me later when you're finished why you think you haven't seen through Feta 1. But just go on in the meantime, if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very trustful that it's going fine, that things are going fine, and yeah, that my unique version of what's happening is happening in exactly the way that it needs to happen. yeah, so why do, I mean, yeah, when I feel like I'm really in the flow, as Eloise, you know, says, when you're I feel like essentially that is seeing through self in many ways. That is when you're very in the present, not asking why you might be diverting from it, but just doing it and being there. And that the personality traits that exist in this particular configuration don't go away as I perhaps might have thought they would, you know, some years ago, you know, at the beginning of this journey. They still exist and they still are exhibited in the same sorts of ways. And it's much less about any thought about what's going on and why and all of those things. I know that I mention this all the time, and I'm sorry, but it is quite relevant to me, this whole cyclical thing. And especially, so I'm sort of perimenopausal, and that potentially brings things up a bit more. I don't know. Anyway, what I find is that in my sort of sunny or spring summer side of my month, I'm much more like that. I'm much more in the flow, thinking less about what I'm, you know, what's going wrong with me or whatever. And in the more autumn winter side of my month, I have much more physical sensations / emotions that cause me to then like reflect on them or whatever. A lot of that time I'm holding back tears most of the time, and then that makes me feel like I'm a depressed person and why am I doing that, you know, and going into that sort of thing. Now, yeah, in the last few years I've done a lot of self-work and had a really good coach who I have worked with to help me just hone in on that way of thinking and adjust it. And so I guess that's helped me come to this part, recognizing that that thought is not what you think it is. You know, that thought is a whole different thing. So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like I have broken it, sometimes not so much.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. So have you always had difficult periods? Has it been like your whole life, or is that just more recently?
Yeah, I mean, I've had kind of an interesting history in that respect, but I think, you know, I think probably most women have, in terms of, you know, what's textbook is not actually necessarily that common. So yes, I've suffered with depression I've suffered with depression.
I get what you mean. Yeah,
for a very long time, and that has been quite a dominant feature of my life.
Yep, I get that.
Yeah.
Just to put it into context for you, my experience, my wife of now 56 years.
Yeah.
Had terrible periods every month, which was part of my life, you know, but obviously I wasn't experiencing what she was experiencing, and menopause has given her relief to that, which has just been brilliant. absolutely brilliant. But there it was, and look, it's a biological thing as well as an emotional and psychological thing. It's just, you know, I can't imagine what it would be like, but I do know from my own experience that if I'm feeling really tired or if I'm feeling sick, that shit comes up a lot easier. It's a lot quicker to turn up. So I guess there's a couple of weeks a month where you're in that same situation, where things are going to come up a lot easier and a lot more intense and look a lot darker. You know, they just don't have, you know, hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're in that state, you know. It's human nature too. I recognise that, like, I can get up in the morning and it's cold. It's only autumn here, so it's not really cold, but if it's a little bit cold and I put a coat on, I can't imagine what it's like to be warm. And by midday, when it's warmed up and I'm taking my coat off, I can't remember what it was like to be cold. It's just crazy. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, another thing I wanted to say to you is don't apologise about repeating yourself. I mean, I do it all the time. Just, it's fine. You know, it's fine. Yeah. There are no rules here. You can say whatever you like. That's fine.
Thank you. I do feel really at ease here. Even with my Eloise, you mentioned like tsunamis of shame. I've lived in that place as well, and am quite surprised at the moment to find my tsunamis of shame are not coming on at all like they used to, which is fabulous. But yeah, even with the things that might make me feel like, oh God, what have I said now? I actually feel really at ease in this group to just make those messes, not worried. So thank you. Yeah.
Just add something, because what you shared about those difficulties, this cycle, this is it's the way experience is presented to you, the way experience happen to you, right? So sometimes it seems that it's more flowing, and sometimes it seems that it's not flowing. But the message here, it's not about your experience being flowing, and it's not about unblocking your experience so you can feel a flow. It's about seeing where this experience is happening and what it is, what not it appear to be, what it is, what is a thought, what is sadness, what is whatever emotion. And this is to me the great exploration, because the mind will always try to make story and to try to evaluate where you are and what's happening. And the only tool the mind have is your experience. So it's kind of scan what's the direct experience and say, okay, so now you are a sad person. Now you are not spiritual. Oh, now you are very spiritual. Oh, now you are awake. Ah, no, now, oh, now you are sad. Now you lost it. Oh, you have no money. Oh, that's because you didn't connect it to the universe energy, and you have no. So now you are not. And it's that's the mind who scan your direct experience and try to find who you are, what's happening, where you are on an imaginary spiritual scale and everything. I just wanted to name this. And the second thing I think is important to remember is the body has a habit. The body has a pattern. And there are people like, apparently you, if you touch depression, I am more, I don't know how you say, melancholic, like nostalgic. I like music, like you can feel sadness, you know, like, oh, but this is a mood habit of the body. Has nothing to do about being awake or not being awake. And there is tool to try to shift your pattern in the way that you see fit. But this is not what we are talking about here. So I understand that you are living this and understand that this is your experience. And I'm sure you are doing whatever you can to improve this. But this is not the proof that you haven't seen uh, through the first, how you said,
Better.
Yeah. First
yeah,
step.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not a proof of anything.
Yeah. In fact, you could even say you're really lucky to have those terrible couple of weeks. They expose things that would otherwise stay hidden. Not to say it's pleasant by any means, but
Yeah, and look, it's nowhere near as terrible as my depression used to be when I wound it up.
yeah.
Like, and look, I mean, in reality, my life is amazing, amazing, and like, talk about flow and synchronicities. I mean, synchronicities are happening with me so much. It's crazy, and it's speeding up, and it's like, yeah, I have no doubt that I'm like this kind of a conduit. Things are happening through me, not by me.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah.
There is a way of thinking. It's a story, but what else we have, right? But one way of thinking when there is difficult period and it's cyclic is to put it in a frame that is not personal. Like what the shape of your body and the way you experience appear come from ancestral, come from the beginning of time, and goes into the future both ways. So what you live, it has a it has a reason, but it's not personal. It's not against you. It's not. It's just there. And there's even no need to define a why, but just accept that it's here. And the beauty is that you are free to do everything you want to improve the situation within the limits that are given to you. So it's not like I have to suffer. No, it's like do everything you can, and when there's nothing more to do, well, feel it, because what else you can do? So it's kind of changing his victim position in life, like, oh, God is against me. God make me suffer to teach me something. No, it has nothing to do with this. It's just thing happens and you respond and it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, back when I used to think about a God actually existing, I'm not even, I don't even remember whether I did or not, but it seems like that. I used to imagine that we were part of God. We were a manifestation of God who did this. Do you get it? Did this? It's primitive. As a way to experience everything possible that could be experienced. So he had to create billions and billions of people, all unique, to be able to experience that one little narrow bit of the spectrum that people operate in. And even then, he's going to keep on, people are going to keep getting born, and he's going to keep on having it, and he still won't get to the end of what's possible in that little bit. That was all just the way it was. I still like that story. If yeah, that's a story that's relative to Christians, I think, maybe. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. How are you, Ramiz? Ramiz? I keep saying Ramiz, but it's Ramiz.
Yeah, hi. I hate that story, Vince.
Okay.
It seems sadistic.
Right. Okay. Were you? Is the culture you were brought up in a Christian culture or a Islamic culture or what?
Both, but I was raised as a Christian.
Okay. Yeah. Mm. So do you see God as sadistic?
I don't believe there is a God, but it seems that the universe is sadistic, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Did you say it seems like the universe is sadistic? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the word sadistic, as I understand, it's enjoying pain, right?
Enjoying inflicting it.
Enjoying, if I think it's only. Okay. Well,
So enjoying receiving masochistic.
Or maybe the people are masochists. I don't know. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Jen and Eloise, I want you guys to help Ramiz as well. You know, you've got a perspective that he's still working on, so you can be really active in helping him. Yeah.
Ramiz, it works both ways.
Yes, of course it does. Yes. Well thought. Yeah.
is it? You said, David, that I don't remember exactly, but you said that doesn't prove that you haven't seen through the fitter one. So my question, what does prove that I haven't seen through the fitter one?
Good question.
Good question.
you will never have a proof, ever. You have seen through Feather One when you accept it, in a way. When you stop asking people if you have gone through the gate, when there is almost no more, there is no doubt. It is that way, and and that's it. And there is nothing who can shake you back, because it's it's a fact to you. It has to be a fact for you. And when it is a fact for you, there is no more question almost about this. Many other questions, but about this topic, no.
Hmm. I see people quite frequently who recognize that there is definitely no inherently independent self running the show, yet their doubt will tell them, and they assume from the doubt that arises that they haven't seen through Fetter One. So when we look at it more closely, the whole concept of seeing through that fetter isn't anything really clear cut. Do you, Ramiz, believe that there's a self somewhere in there running the show?
No,
Do you sometimes?
but
Yeah, but go on. That'll do.
Um, I feel it's not about what I think or what I believe. I think it's about what my experience feels like, right? Um, like I could understand that everything is connected somehow, that I can't control every little thing I think I'm responsible for or I'm not responsible for. But um, I feel like there's something that is not landing, that's making this a reality in a way.
Yep, yep. So one way people will often describe this is they'll say, oh, well, I have an intellectual understanding. I just haven't had that experiential shift. But that's another story, isn't it? That's just a story. So what you said was you don't feel like something has landed. And so in the beginning, when we're guiding, particularly at LU, the first thing we need to do is get people untangled from believing every single thought that turns up. But the thing is, once we do that, what we do that by giving feelings more credibility. But then the next step, the problem is that we've got to say, what do your feelings prove? Why do you give more credibility to your feelings than you do to your thoughts? Both equally random, rubbish. They don't. One has no more credibility than the other. Yet we think because we feel something, it has much more credibility than something we think. Is that what you experience?
I feel like it's not this exclusive, like that all thoughts are just thoughts. I feel like there is um, um, because there is something like intuition, for example. Like to communicate with you right now, I have to believe something at some level. Like I have to have some reference somewhere about what I'm saying, what I'm communicating, what I'm believing, and I'm not in control of most of it, or I'm aware of most of it. And the experience I'm having can it change from how I'm feeling, what story I'm telling myself, and um, I feel like there's something about this shift that is felt, that must be felt in the whole being somehow. It's not just a thought. Oh, I'm not my thoughts. Okay, just that. It's not. It doesn't feel like um, something changed.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah.
He also talks about the ramification of seeing no self, and I'm not sure, right? Like if could you speak about that more? Like
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. And what comes to mind is, rather than speak about no self, which is really a weird concept when you think about it, the absence of self, people often start to think that they've got a self that they're destroying when they go from self to no self, and that's equally weird. So let's clarify this a bit. What the self is, and there is what I would call a self. What it is essentially stories that you've got about Ramiz. It's I could say there's a book full of information or written things about Ramiz. All of your history is in that book, and all of your likes and all of your dislikes, all of your preferences, all of your descriptions of your physical being, all of those things are in there. They're all stories about Ramiz. And that doesn't make up the self, but what does make up the illusion of a self, the feeling that there is a self in there, are the responses, the reactions you have to those stories. The responses you have to the stories about Ramiz are what I would call the self. So when we go through this waking up process, do we end up with no stories? No, we just end up with different stories.
What is your relationship to the story or the stories? Like,
The way I
because
respond to them.
I think like the existence of a story doesn't really matter, right? Like the story continues.
Yeah, and the
It's like
story in
when I'm
itself
thinking,
is nothing, eh?
it's like when I'm thinking like about a memory, and it has maybe like an emotional charge about it, and when I bring it up, it feels like it's out there, like there's a 3-dimension for it. It feels like and there are moments when like the time becomes flat, where the story doesn't land anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like ephemeral, like it's just
Yeah.
It's not substantial somehow.
Yeah. So that's
But
a different reaction to the story than what there was earlier on.
so
That
that's
story
what I'm
not
talking
landing.
about.
Sorry.
That's what I was trying to like explain, that as long as the story or the whatever I'm telling myself feels like
Yes.
has solid somehow, I haven't seen through it. It's just
Yes. Yeah. I would say that's accurate. Yeah. So an external description of what's going on there would be that that's a story that you believe. Would you agree? That's why it has the emotional charge. Where those stories that you no longer believe, they're just stories. They're not, there's no connection to those stories. You're not responding to them in the same way. You're actually responding to them. If they do turn up, you're responding to them in a dismissive way or some variation of that. But the ones that you have that have an emotional charge are the ones that you still believe. Now, do you think it's possible to consciously, intentionally change a belief?
I don't think so. No.
No, I agree. You can't. A koan that I often invite people to contemplate is, if you do find that you drop a belief, is it always replaced by another belief? Don't answer that. Contemplate it in the meantime. Because that's a deep one. Yeah. So part of the reason that there is an emotional charge about some stories, you see, it's kind of trite to say it's because you believe it. That's just an after story, a post-it note, as Pernilla would say, on that particular thing. But there's a reason why you still connect with that story. And that's what this process is about. It's about looking at not the specifics of the reason, but the need to connect in the way that you do. Was that too obscure?
Yes.
What I heard
Yeah, go on.
say, and correct me if I've got it wrong, but that the sense of self comes out of the responses to the story of self or other things that will happen, and that this like the history of this particular makeup of, you know, this body's and history doesn't change, but the responses to those stories can change. I'm not sure if I'm making this any easier for you, Ramiz, or not. I have noticed here, for me, some really big adjustments in my responses to things. Now, I'm kind of not sure either if I've seen through self or whatever. But I've also recognized that a lot of it is the doubt and the expectations. So if you're expecting some big change or like to really notice something, then that expectation might be stopping you from noticing something that comes prior to this idea of self.
That's a good one. That's a big one. Mm.
One of the things that I have thought about a lot in this process is who you were when you were first born. So who I was when I was first born was still, I mean, I didn't have the conditioning, obviously, and I didn't even know my name. But I had the awareness, all of us, as soon as we're born, and possibly before that, probably before that, has some kind of awareness of being, just a sense of being. And everything that came after I was born became a story of Jen. And so the story of Jen and who Jen is and thinks she is, and how she reacts to who she thinks she is, all came after what she was when she was first born. And she was fully everything when she was first born. And so were you. You know? I don't know if that helps or not.
I remember once I was listening to meditation Todd was making, and he said, it was an inquiry, and he said, like, how do you know you were born? And it hit me like, holy fuck, I've been told like I was born. I didn't know. It's just a thought, like I was born.
Exactly.
Before I know that I was born, like, it's like my mind just stopped, but
I want to add something because often there is a, from my perspective, there is a idealization of babies. A baby is not conditioning. If there is a body, there is condition. End of the story, right? If you are here, if you can hear this word, or if you have some kind of physical experience, there is a conditionment. There is limitation that make experience happening for you, whoever you are, animals, everything. There is a conditioning. If there is a physical body, if there is an experience, there is some kind of conditioning to that. What comes after, it's labeling, it's mind, it's thought. So about what Vince said, I would approach it in the opposite way because I like conflict, maybe. but but I would just approach that there is a feeling, an emotion, and the mind search a justification for it. It builds up literally a story that looks like your life to justify this emotion. And they think it's the story has nothing to do with what you feel. So the thought, it's an overlay on sensation. And I think it can be interesting for you to explore spontaneity and how you experience it appear spontaneously in the moment. Like in the question, like, how do you know you are born? Point to that. Now it's a Big Bang. The Big Bang is happening now, and what it is, it's your experience. So when you ask, how do I know that I am awake, and how do I will know? All of this implies that, oh, there is an event, therefore there will happen something. And you have a memory of all of this. It's spontaneous. It's now. How it is the question, who am I, is great, but at some point it can be messy. If you ask, you can ask, what is here? What is this? What is this? What is anything? What's the nature of what is appearing in the moment? And you will find you cannot prove anything. Everything that you can prove, it's of concept. I mean, I'm sure you love someone in your life. How can you prove that you love them? What's the proof? What's the evidence for this? There's no evidence. You know, because I feel it. Yeah, but where? In the heart, and with the heart, I don't know. It's everything becomes blurry when you try to find evidence, proof, or fact in the realm of being. Because the realm of being, it's another dimension. And the realm of being, it's this kind of baby state. When there is experience happening without the sense of space, time, and me overlay on the top of it. If it's possible for the mind to not react to something, and it's the same for the body. I'm really maybe if you are very deep state, you cannot react. But you know, if you put you and the body have autonomous reaction, it reacts to protect itself in a way or another, and the human mind is the same because it will react to some things. But the reaction, the way you react, it is not a proof. It doesn't prove that there is someone behind it. There is plants who react to events. That means that there is a me behind, there is a plant, there is, I don't know, I don't believe that. Can you see this the immediacy of your experience right now? Ramiz, can you see that your experience is just in your face already? Like it's already too late,
Yeah.
you want to catch it, and it's already too late, right? You can feel it?
Yeah, it's like it's happening and I'm lagging behind it. It's
Exactly,
kind of
exactly.
thing.
So now tell me where are you right now?
I have no idea.
You see, but no, this is to me, this is the awakening. Like you can say, I am in a room in whatever country and I'm this and that. This is one aspect, but the other aspect is, oh, this room is in my experience, but I don't know where is this experience inside. I cannot find. You see? Can you see this?
Let me ask you this. When you speak, do you like feel like you are the speaking or you are the one who is hearing you speaking?
More, I think I listen to you as much as I listen to myself, and in Zoom is even more evident. If you take people often look more to themselves on the Zoom than the other one. So really, literally, it's kind of the same as I'm witnessing the words that are appearing, but I'm the same lag effect to experience. When they come out, there is oh, I say this, oh, I did that, I did that. It can be have, not it is lag, but it's already too late. So the sense of I have spoken, the belief of I have spoken, it's already afterward. And the word I am speaking, it's already after.
Your immediate experience, how it feels like because sometimes I just shift between the two. Like I feel sometimes I'm one done speaking. Sometimes I feel like I'm the one that's hearing me speaking, and there's a subtle difference.
Yeah. Okay. Well, feel it, because this subtle difference, there is a lot of things teaching you there. Feel this subtle difference. Feel it. What's happening when you're in one place? What happens when you're in the other? And after take this subtlety in the different aspects of your experience. When you are talking, okay, now what happened when you are moving? You are walking, right? What? Okay, I am moving, or what? You know, and become sensitive and see what happened. Because this, what you are pointing right now, this is your teacher. What your own exploration will give you so much more than anything can say and anyone can say, because you become more sensitive to the different state of different experience and how experience is happening.
So I would suggest, and one of the things that comes to mind here that's big, is that if you catch yourself thinking about it, that is an experience. But it's like you go to the I don't know, to a stage show, a play. You go to a play and you've got a what do you call it, a program, and instead of watching the play, you spend your whole time reading the program while you're there in the audience. So when you find yourself thinking about whether you're the hearer or the speaker of the words that come out of your mouth, it's like you're looking at the program, not not actually being aware of what's going on. But that is your experience. But you're not seeing it as your experience because you're thinking about it, which is more program reading. So when you ask David that question, I couldn't find an answer. I have no idea whether I am the speaker or the hearer of the. I'm none of those things. I have no idea what words are going to come out of my mouth. I can remember them a few seconds later. I can, if somebody says, "What did you say?" I could then mentally turn around and replay those words and then talk about it. But I have no awareness of what's happening when the words are coming out of my mouth. I am the words. I mean, it's not an intellectual thing. I can only imagine that my whole being is the words, or whatever peripheral vision or whatever other thing is going on. That's included, but there is no. I have to turn around and mentally overlay a story to arrive at the conclusion that you're asking me to focus on, about whether I'm the speaker or the hearer of the words.
When you do the overlay, do you lose it?
I'm not sure. Ask me again.
When you do the overlay and you reflect about something, you talk about it, do you lose the awakeness?
Look, I don't have any awakening. That's just a story. There is no such thing as being awake. And if you line me up and a whole lot of other people who are saying they're awake, you know, me and David and whatever, there's no way you can measure it. There's no way you can define it. There's no way you can prove that somebody's awake or not awake, because there's no such thing. So really, what I mean, you could make up a story and say, well, what this whole thing is about is ending suffering. That's a fairly traditional way of looking at it.
Yeah, but the thing is, Ramiz, you are putting awakening as an experience, something that you experience. And when Vince said, and I agree, it's about the end of suffering, I'm sure you might say, oh, therefore I will have a great experience, right? But it's not, it has nothing to do with the experience and the way that it appears. It's about what experience is.
I wonder, Ramiz, if you're a little bit like me with a lot of overthinking and analyzing stuff quite a lot. I don't know, that's me. Are you?
Yes.
And it turns out that is a real barrier, I think, to
So you prove me right.
So that before you came online, I was telling about what had happened for me in the last day or two, and about recognizing that I was distracting myself from the present with these thoughts about the past and the future. But then I asked, why am I distracting myself from the present? And Vince so beautifully pointed out that asking that question is another distraction. And it's this seductive thing of the mind wanting to grasp it and understand it and take it to pieces and know it, or but then, yeah, when David was talking, I wish I could remember exactly what you said. I might have to go back and find it, because yeah, that you said something about that it's a whole different realm. Being is in a whole different realm. Like, or is like, do you remember what that was?
Well,
Can you
I don't remember what I say, but if we make it very practical, for example, if right now all of us we look back in our life, right, and we take all of the meaningful moments, all of the meaningful experience that we have and we had, and we take this memory and we look at them, right, and say, oh, this one is meaningful, this one was great, and everything. I bet you that you cannot measure any of those meaningfulness. Like, for example, I love my son, right? And it's when I'm with him, it's an amazing experience. It's horrible and amazing. It's everything, right? So it's a whole roller coaster, right? But how much do I love him?
Mm.
The question makes no sense. 1 kilo,
Mm.
I love him. 1 kilometer, I love him. What this? Because the mind, whatever you try to measure something, you are in the realm of analytic mind, which is a great tool to build things, and it's amazing. Okay, it's beautiful. It's really a miracle. This mind, it's really a miracle. But when you try to use this mind to analyze the being and nature, not not nature trees, I'm talking reality, right? The nature of reality. When you try to see, to explore from that perspective, this perspective will automatically put everything between with measure, how long, how big, how deep, how this, and try to, and it's another dimension. It's like saying, what color is number 3? The number 3, what color it is? But it makes no sense, you know. Or try to explain me the universe with rice. Show me the universe. It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. And this is the mind will never. The analytic mind will never accept this. And I'm not suggesting that you have to negotiate or to let go of this analytic mind. I'm saying it's another dimension. It's the analytic mind is still there, and fine, you can keep your life the way you want and everything, but there is something below that you cannot conceptualize it. But because of history, we think that if you cannot speak about it, if you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. But what is very strange to think like this, because everything that has meaning in your life, you cannot measure it, and you cannot find the love that you have for your mother. Find it where it is. You can open my body, my heart, my stomach, everything. You will find no love here. But I feel it. It is real. It's a real experience. What is really meaningful cannot be measured, cannot be conceptualized. And reality and non-duality, it's about this realm of being. So yeah, this is yeah. And it is true that I don't know why, but I'm more sensitive now, because I feel that a lot of us, when we start, maybe we approach thinking as an enemy, and we put all thinking it's just trash, and we deny that there is a thing, there's a part of thinking that is it's really a miracle, because it allows you to organize your life. And I don't think this part should be denied. I don't think we just need to see clearly the usefulness of it, and seeing the limits of this part of our experience.
It's a transitional thing to see that a lot of the how do you put it? A lot of it's a misuse of the mind, and that sounds silly as soon as I say it, but it'll do. It's a misuse of the mind that causes suffering. But once we get to where that's not happening constant or as much as it used to, once we get to a certain point, then we start to look at the mind in a different way, a positive way. A story I have is that it's all stories all the way down. Absolutely everything is the result of stories, and that's the mind that does it. And it's not just everything we experience, every other person, the whole world is the result of the mind, which is absolutely brilliant stuff. But that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. What we need to do is untangle ourselves from the misuse. Not that it's intentional, but it's problems that are caused by the way we've learned to think. So in a sense, what we're doing here is we're learning to think differently. But we've got to untangle ourselves from the labyrinth that the mind is first. And we do that by putting emphasis on direct sensation, direct experience, that experience that happens before the mind turns up to corrupt things, to explain things or describe things or whatever. But where we're going, as David says, nothing can be measured. There is no definitive way we can say somebody is or isn't. It's just another story, being awake.
I think to entangle ourselves from thinking, and we talk a lot about belief, and I agree with you. The first step to me, it's this untangle the self from our. To me, I don't say untangle. It's more seeing what is the nature of thoughts, and often it's not clear. But it's not clear. But I think if I say it can be useful. I believe it's a concept, right? I believe it's conceptual thing. It's make a belief, right? But not. I think it can be very good at the beginning, at least, to see the difference, because if we want to kind of put everything in the same bag, it can be kind of confusing. But for example, if I'm looking at a table right now, I'm looking at a table. The table, it's a concept, right? It's not a belief. Now, if I say, oh, this, if I say, I am from Switzerland. Switzerland, it's a belief. It's made up. It has no. It doesn't land in experience, let's say. And I think it can be very useful to see the difference, because sometimes it's true that the step can be too much, because if you say every thought it's just concept, maybe it can be too much, but that's in my whole universe is just, it's too much. But if you say, okay, but maybe all of you believe, like, my neighbor is bad to me. Okay, this is a belief, right? But you have a neighbor, but there's a neighbor, it's a concept. And there's judgment. I think just being clear is a little bit about how thoughts appear can be useful, because it can bring space between things, and there is less emotion at the beginning coming up. and is less threatening. That means that I can still have my physical life, but I can kind of let go of beliefs and judgment. Yeah, you can let go of them. It's fine. It's fine.
When you speak about uh, disentangled from thoughts, or it seems to me like, from what I understand, is that it's about making the experience owned by some character, like by a me. Like I am identified with the thoughts or the stories. It's not like about the story itself. So,
yeah,
like catching when there is an identification, there is investment.
this sounds very awake, Ramiz.
So the story can go on. Like the story can still try to figure this out, but it's not me who's trying to figure it out, like kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's less less dramatic change than we expect there's going to be with an awakening, and more it's like, yeah, the stuff is still going on, the story's still going on, but it's not, there's no you trying to figure it out and sort it out and fix it and control it and whatever. You're just more like interested. You don't know, kind of watching it or seeing what happens, or
Very beautiful, Ramiz, because this is exactly the shift. The thinking will do what thinking do. And so what? What is thinking has to do with you? Snake bites, tiger eats other animals, and elephant just do whatever elephant do, and tree grows up and the sun arises, and thinking it's a part of life. Thinking does what thinking does: analyze, understanding, put thinking in boxes, and do everything to make this experience body survive. This is what it is made of. So what? But this is exactly, what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thinking, want to grab. Okay, Ramiz, yeah, exactly. And it has nothing to do with you, right? So what more do you expect?
Not enough. I want a candy.
We do. We all do. Yeah. A good analogy, or is there something a bit more concrete than an analogy? But anyway, if you're standing outside and you become focused on feeling the breeze, the air movement that's there, and it comes and goes, and it gets stronger and less strong. It has a certain temperature. It has a certain characteristics about the breeze as it touches you. It touches your bare skin. Maybe it moves your clothes if it's strong. And that's a brilliant analogy for thoughts. Your thoughts belong to you as much as the breeze does. And they're just there, and they're stronger and they're not strong. They're warmer, they're cold, they're whatever the breeze is, your thoughts can be like that too. And you own your thoughts no less or more than you own the breeze.
I am going to have to go, my friends. Thank you so much. And next time I see you, I will have just spent some time with my family. So I'm sure I'm going to
Okay,
have some
thank you.
interesting
It's
stuff
been
from
really
it.
good. I've really
Bye
enjoyed
then.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. See you next time.
Ramiz, I think you're tricking us. You just want us to think that you're not awake.
Yes.
He's testing us. He's testing us.
That's it. We're under his thumb.
Exactly. Exactly. But I would like to talk about his candy, you know, because I don't think it's such black and white, you know. My experience is not that, oh, I wanted a candy and now I don't want candy. There's a part of me who always want to improve things, and at all levels, as a parent, as a person, as a partner, as a member of society. There is part that always want to improve, and I want to improve. I don't know, in my in all of the subtle realms also, you know. I want to improve how much I feel, and so I understand that at some point there is no candy, you know. There is only this spontaneous experience, and at the same time there is this impulse, you know, to improve, to find a candy and everything. And I think it's now where I'm not right now, I don't expect this impulse to not be there. I just accept this impulse as much as thinking and as part of being human, in the sense of having a mind that always wants to improve and find and reach and understand. Well, it's not a candy. It's always kind of, there's the impulse constantly. And I think it's maybe healthy, maybe to want to get this willing to improve your experience.
No, I think I just want to be superior and look down to people.
Look, it's good. You're high enough. Are you high enough? How high? How high you want to be, you know? Yeah, but I, you know, I completely get what I have those parts in me. I can feel this. Not in every situation, but there is situation that I can feel this, you know, this comparison. But this is, to me, this is the mind. This is thinking.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've recognized that when I'm feeling really, really good, that there's a part of me that wants to feel more of that. It's not that I want to let, you know, it's not that I'm worried about losing what I've got. I just want more. So I had for lunch 3 slices of bread. And on one I put Vegemite. You might not know Vegemite, but it's a salty, tangy, salty bread spread. And on another one I had peanut butter, and then I finished up with some ginger jam, ginger marmalade. I love sweets. And when I finished that piece of bread with the marmalade on it, I wanted another one. But I didn't let myself. I mean, even 3 pieces of bread was probably too much because I've got a big belly. But I wanted more. I recognised that I wanted more, but there was no fight. I also recognised that I wasn't going to have any more. But that was sufficient, or that it was inappropriate for me to keep eating and keep eating and keep eating until I didn't want any more, because I'm only going to get to the point where I don't want any more when I'm feeling sick. So one was enough. And there was no fight about not having another one or not having more, but there was a recognition that there was a desire for more. I just didn't respond to that recognition. I didn't respond to the desire for more by having more. I responded by just ignoring it, I guess. But I think it's part of our human nature, part of our body, that we always want more of a good thing. Something that feels good, we want more of it.
Yeah, so no judgment about that, Vince.
Mm.
I'm actually, it's kind of the opposite for me. It's like I'm scared to have more. Like I want to save some.
But you see, this is the conditioning of your system. My system, it's obsessive. Like when I opened, for example, it took me years to understand that I can buy a bag of chips and not finishing it. To me, what you buy a bag of chips for finishing, I mean, what, you will not like just leave it open and it's no, you buy something, you eat it fully. You know, this is why I bought it. You know, I bought it but this is obsessive mind because of whatever, it doesn't really matter. And with my partner, she's opposite. She can open a bag, eat one chip, close the bag, and go on her day. And when she watched me like eating everything that was open constantly, but you are crazy. And I look at myself, oh, it's true. Maybe it's too much. You know? Eating full plate of chocolate, eating everything. And I realized, oh yeah. So there was a recognized pattern in me. You see, but what you're talking here, it's not about how experience unfolds. You see, but I don't feel more awake now that I'm able to eat only one chips and kind of there's more control of this impulse of food than where I was eating 1 kilo of M&Ms a day and it was fine to me, you know. I don't feel more awake. So you are tricking us, Ramiz.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else that just came to me then, Ramiz, and it's really relevant, I think. The only time I think about being awake, not about me being awake or about being awake in general, is at these meetings. When this finishes and I go out there and talk to my wife and do what I do out there, there is no thought about being awake. Doesn't exist. And if you ask my wife if I'm awake, she'll say, absolutely not.
That's her job, though, Vince.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to make a difference between a wise person and a holy person. You know, like the holy person is a person who incarnates the belief system of a group. So a group can be, oh, if you don't eat meat and you do yoga, you are very holy. So there is person who are able to incarnate this kind of the belief system of group, of social group, and they are seeing higher and this kind of way. I don't know if holy is a good word in English, but anyway, this kind of person. And the wise person has nothing to do about experience. It can have a very bad behavior, you know, but his understanding of the nature of reality can be very, very profound. And often we confuse both of them. We mix both of them. If someone is vegan and can shape his body into a spaghetti, that means that he understands a lot about everything, right? But maybe not, you know. Maybe just able. He's very flexible. So yeah, good for him. I mean, I think it's very good. It has nothing to do about the nature of reality.
But I think there's like an effect or of seeing through illusions. Like I don't imagine someone who's had an awakening to be like a serial killer, for example. Like, is it possible?
I imagine it is.
I mean, you have to define serial killer. There is a lot of Sufi, but maybe other people who wrote about spirituality a lot, but they were at war, you know. Like in the day, they were at war, killing people, defending themselves and killing people. And at night, they were writing about God and how everything is perfect. So now our society is so disconnected with wars and how humans behave. But for thousands of years, killing people and all of this was part of how life people live, really. But I think it has an effect. But I think I feel the way you ask the question is I feel it's like, oh, so if it has an effect, what proof there is that it has affected me? You know, there is a sense this kind of I I want some scale. You know, if it's affect experience, I want some scale. Some evidence, something that I can manage.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, exactly, it's working. But I think since I met you here, you change a lot, isn't it?
I suspect we see more change in Ramiz than he feels.
Yeah, I think so. Did you feel some shift in your day-to-day life, in your normal life, let's say?
I don't know. Do you mean like a change outside or inside? Or
I mean,
does it make a difference?
are you more happy in your day-to-day life? Are you more relaxed? Are you can you can you wake up in the morning and it's maybe just okay, the day has begun, you know, and when the day finish, I'm relaxed and it's fine. Can you feel this what kind of relaxation or peace, or just when you relate to people, how it hasn't it is more
It's very
fluent?
it's very weird. It's sometimes there's a relaxation and sometimes I want to kill myself. It's uh, so yeah, it's
But you say it's smiling, you see. You said there's relaxation and you say, but sometimes I want to run away, but you say a smile. I think you are right, Vince. I don't think Ram is really. Uh, he- I don't think Ram is you are processing what's happening, and it's fine in your day-to-day life. You're not. I don't think you are noticing how much you are smiling.
I just I'm still going through a lot of trauma processing and it's I haven't arrived to a place where there is a significant shift of relief or something. So I feel like I'm going deeper and deeper to, and along that there is, you could say, more capacity to hold the experience somehow. Maybe there's a change in this aspect, but and maybe I'm expecting more. I am expecting
See, personality-wise, the Ramiz that I first interacted with is nothing like the Ramiz that I have in front of me now. And I reckon that if you can remember when you first started coming to these meetings, you go back and have a look at a video of you back then and look at you now, your facial features have changed. Your whole demeanor has changed. Now, maybe this is just my perception, but I think it's not only my perception. But part of it is because the way we evolve, and it's so gradual, it's so subtle that we just don't notice it. We don't remember. See, we don't, like I said before, we don't, you know, if it's cold in the morning and warm at midday, we don't remember the cold of the morning at midday. You know, we just, that's the nature. We don't remember how it was. But this is really not anything. You know, what are we trying to give you proof that something is happening? Yeah.
I feel like
Very interesting.
it's like admitting that something is changing is like I'm losing something, or
Yes. Yeah, I get that. There can be a real grief process with this as well. It can happen. Yeah.
But also, Vince, I think you shared something with me, which is a lot of people that I interact with regularly. They don't want me to change, so they're not going to mirror my changes to me, if you know. So, you know, they kind of want me just to be the old, that old conditioning.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
It's not just that they don't mirror your changes, but they'll actually almost actively insist that you stay the way you were.
That's right.
But that's just their security, I think.
That's right. But I mean, Ramiz, one of the kind of things that I noticed that, you know, in my shift is that there's just an ease that wasn't there before. And that, you know, that's not quantifiable, as David said, but it's real. And it's not, there's no belief behind that. It's just how it is. There's just greater ease in being in life, you know, and just showing up, even if it's shit.
And another thing that you might have a misconception about is permanency. Nothing is permanent in this life. And so we can be going along feeling really good and shit turns up and it can bowl us over. That doesn't prove anything. It's just what happens. And we can get back up, and we'll probably get back up a bit easier than we would have once upon a time, but it's not going to be always a regular thing. There's always ups and downs. There's always going to be more or less. So you're feeling good and you can go, oh, I'm here. And then all of a sudden shit turns up and you go, uh-oh, that means I'm not here. Well, it doesn't mean you're not here at all. It's just shit turning up, that's all. Yeah.
I want to share something because those weeks I'm touching a space of I don't know in me. Like it's like a falling, a complete falling. Like I really don't know what, because I'm seeing that somehow I'm still holding to some spiritual belief or beliefs of direct of whatever we are talking here, right? It's kind of I can explain some stuff, you know. I can explain, that means that I kind of know what's happening and where it's going, and And those weeks I'm feeling kind of an internal falling, like, oh, I really don't I have really no idea, you know. It's like, and 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 this experience of really deep, I have no idea, you know. I feel there's a lot of anxiety coming up, you know. And really, I do my best to feel it. Just maybe some days just 1 minute, some days a bit more, but 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 it's huge. You know, there's a lot of anxiety. I really don't know. I really have no idea. And I see a part of me who is, it's okay. You know, we'll do something. You know, we'll do something about LU and this experience, and there is thinking and there is thought, and how to just collapse again is like, I know, but I really I don't know. And the anxiety come up again. You know, and there's this I'm kind of living in anxiety and kind of in my escape pattern, and it's very agitating, those weeks. And I share this because this whole story about awakening, non-awakening, I mean, well, it makes no sense, you know. Like, this just experience happening, and you deal the way you can in the moment, and it feels so basic, you know. So like, yeah, but everyone said it, yeah, but because it's the deepest. I don't know if it's the deepest, but it's what it is for me right now. You know, like there's this unknown happening more and more, like pushing. You know, like, no, you don't know, nothing. You don't know absolutely nothing. You don't know what's happening. You don't know, nothing. And this anxiety coming up. You know, and I feel like a little kid. You know, like, no, but I have my toy. I want my toy. I want my teddy bear. I want my teddy bear. I cannot go to sleep in my teddy bear. I know, I want my teddy bear. It's sort of, so okay, it's fine. Take your teddy bear, and after it will come back, and it's a big dance, you know. So Ramiz, do you have any advice for me? No, I'm
Well,
serious.
yeah,
Do you have any advice for me?
yeah. From where you are now, Ramiz, what would you tell him?
Um, from where I am, it's not looking good. um, I don't know really what to say. It just I was thinking about how to allow fear, and it seems like this is like a contradiction. It's just, it's like relaxing and contracting at the same time. Like, how can I do the same? It's like, if I allow fear, it's like the resistance is in the fear itself, is inherent in it. And if I allow the fear, I'm resisting it. If I resist the resistance, I'm running away from it. It's just, it's like there's no, I've been sitting a lot with the body energy and all of this, and I've been doing emotional processing with someone who's helping me lately. And it seems like there is a fear of like falling, or a fear of like a total breakdown, that I have hit the bottom, like there's no more to uh, there's nowhere to go, like this is it. um,
So if there's nowhere to go and this is it, does that feel like you're already on the bottom?
no, I still feel like there's something I can do. I can, it's like I'm prolonging this breakdown somehow. It's like I want the breakdown to happen, but not really. It's like
Mm, mm.
it's so
Yeah,
weird.
it would be frightening, yeah. So when you were saying about the resistance being inherent in the fear and the interaction between the two, so that if you're whatever you do, you can't win. Yeah, if you resist the resistance, you're running away from it, so to speak. Do you see that you're thinking about it, and as a result
Yes.
of that, you're not feeling what it is? So if you take the word fear, if you take the label fear and look at what is you're actually experiencing, it's no longer fear, it's sensations and stories, and they can reveal things. But whatever you relate to it as fear, nothing can be revealed. It's the label just simply stops examination of it.
To me, it doesn't appear as fear. It appears as a sensation that is in my guts and come up, and it's just like it's kind of being possessed. Like, like I have to do something about it, like an addiction. Like it's like there is. It's very. It's a challenge to kind of allow it to feel it. I feel it. I feel it. And sometimes disappear, and after it appear again, and I do everything I can to kind of be with it. But there is this strong impulse to action, to do something. And now I see it not in thought. It's more in sensation. Like it's like a sensation which is seeking um, to feel something else. It's very
It's like
strongly.
the resistance is like energetic more than thought.
If by energetic you mean a sensation,
Yeah.
an impulse sensation, yes, it's more energetic.
So I was thinking about being possessed, and I thought like it's not like I am being possessed by a demon. I thought maybe I am the demon that's being exorcised from this body.
The difficulty is this one to me. It's the mobile phone. I mean, it's so constantly with me, and it's built to it's built to respond to this impulse. It's almost made for that. So I see it is this impulse to have to stay just with this uncomfortable sensation. It's difficult, but it's also melting with habits, like habits of different patterns for me. But when Ramiz, when you say this is it, it rings something in me. I think it's a very good reminder that I have to remind myself that this is it. You know, this almost unbearable sensation. This is it. You know, this is it. Whatever happens, this is it. This is a very good reminder. Thank you.
Mm.
I'm still like expecting like some kind of hole to fall in, like.
Yep. So don't think about that expecting. Feel it. So every time you catch yourself thinking about, just flick it away for a moment and go back to what's in the body. What are you feeling in the body? And you're not looking to explain it. You're just looking to experience it. And I want you to go away with a question, to contemplate this question. Ramiz, what would it mean if you're further along than you think you are? I don't want any answers. I just want you to contemplate that until we see you next time. So I'm going to go and cook my wife tea now.
Ginger jam on toast, I hope.
Oh no, we've got to have something a bit more substantial than that. Yeah.
You know, Vince, if you take a bread and instead of cutting the slices that way, you can cut just horizontal, and you have only one toast.
Yeah, okay. Yes. And I just did a Ramiz then, and I immediately thought that wouldn't be satisfying. I thought about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
I
you.
have a
Ola.
suggestion.
Appreciate
Thank you. It's been really good. I loved it.
Yeah.
And Ramiz, I have such good feelings about you. I really do. Yeah.
Vince, I have a suggestion for the videos. Maybe there could be like a title more than the date on the YouTube.
Say again.
In YouTube.
On YouTube videos to have like a title more than the date, like what the meeting was about or something.
Oh, okay. All right.
For this meeting, it can be Guru Ramiz talk. This one.
Yeah. Something a bit more. I can do that. I can do that. I don't want to give myself
Maybe.
too much more work, but I can use the AI summary to I can put that there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay.
And if you run out of that, Vince, just say bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of that
Yes.
around. Yeah. Okay. All right. See you all later.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.